in spots, but 21-14 enough to get it done and improve the Steelers to a game over 500 as Rodgers finishes 16-23 for $139, 2 touchdowns, and a giveaway. All right, back in studio with the guys to assess what we saw there and so much more coming down the pipe here as the 1 p. Eastern window draws to a close. Mac, these are your Steelers here. I couldn't get a feel for them for about a half an hour, but it feels like they came out of the locker room with a little bit more juice than they took to the road on. What do you take away from this performance?
This was a much-needed win, especially in terms of defensive effort. What we witnessed with the Pittsburgh Steelers the first 2 weeks was horrendous in terms of getting significant stops and, most importantly, being better against the run. Remember what the Jets did week 1. They ran the football up and down against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The same was said with Kenneth Walker and the Seattle Seahawks just last week. So when you look at their effort defensively, especially against the Patriots running game, they did a better job, not to mention forcing turnovers. We saw 5 turnovers forced by the Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 in which happened in the red zone. If you want to learn the best way to lose a ball game, create turnovers. Have turnovers in the red zone. That will put you in a position to lose. And that was the telling sign for me in terms of the Pittsburgh Steelers walking out of Gillette Stadium with a win.
Ben, you got a young quarterback there in Drake May. It's an offense that couldn't find their flow, couldn't possess the football on that side of the ledger in this one. What is the coaching point coming off of this when you still have a quarterback trying to figure out what he's seeing?
Yeah. When you look at this New England Patriots offense, I think the biggest thing for them today is they shot themselves in the foot too many times, right? 5 turnovers, couple fumbles. Drake May tipped ball down there, near the goal line. They got intercepted before half. But if you're the Patriots, staff, offensive coordinator, head coach, you've got to like the way Drake May started the season. Much, much, much improved from last year. Taking care of the ball, spreading the ball around, getting these guys involved. But if you're this Patriots team, you got to feel like you let one slip a little bit today.
It was the running backs unable to hold the rock. You do mention the red zone giveaway by Drake May right after we saw a play that might have in other instances had him taken off the field. He does stay on the field there. And for the remainder of the game, JJ, take us wherever you're pleased here, because I think 2 great points made on the quarterback. And then on the Pittsburgh Steelers side, this was a game that T.J. Watt needed to see as well.
So T.J. Watt finally came alive, right? And it was what we have been waiting for and looking for from T.J. Watt. I'm an AP voter on all the big awards, and I remember about midway through December, it was like I wanted T.J. Watt to be Defensive Player of the Year. He just needed to get a sack somewhere in there. He wound up losing that award to Pat Surtain II. And so now he's starting to round into form, $41 million per year. He needs to. On the other side of it, and I think Ben really hit on it there with the New England Patriots, you had so many opportunities there in the red zone. You had Drake May's interception there, and B-Mac and I were talking about as we're watching the game, why are they not running the football one time in the minute that you have it down there at the goal line? They did not do that. Ramondre Stevenson could not be trusted today. He had 2 fumbles on the day. Last year, he had 7 fumbles. I was a little surprised, Joe, that after the first fumble, with a new head coach in Mike Vrabel, that he didn't just bench him. That he didn't say, we got Travion Henderson. We're not putting up with this in a game that is going to be a low-scoring game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They did not do that. They got burned by him again. That's going to be an issue this week in Foxborough.
Vrabel, we know, baptized in a world of ball security, even though he played on the other side of the football. But the Patriot way is something they're trying to return to. Mac, when it goes like this for an offensive unit, where a defensive unit kept them in the game, we never want to pit units against each other, but that does happen in locker rooms sometimes. What's the discourse after a game like this where you created the turnovers on the offensive side and defensively, all you could do was be out on the football field for as long as they were?
Adversity creates leadership, especially in the game of football. When things are not going well on the football field for either side, the leaders got to step up and emerge, right, and get the troops back together. And that's something that we didn't see today. You got to understand something with this new staff, this new regime. They're trying to create a culture there. The players that were a part of the New England Patriots last year, the only culture they know is losing culture. So, and I say this week in and week out, before you learn how to win, you have to learn how not to lose. And that has been the issue for the Patriots going back to a year ago. And guess what? That surfaced today because, to Ben's point, I'm a Steeler, no question. But they gave that game away when you talk about having costly turnovers inside the 5-yard line. Worst case scenario, when you're in that situation, you kick 3. Worst case scenario. We all know what the best case scenario is. And in those 2 moments, they squandered away scoring opportunities. To your point, in a low-scoring game, 3 points is like a touchdown.
That's right.
In those moments. It's
6
golden.
points is gold.
Facts. And they just let it slip through their fingers. They got to get that not losing mentality, but learning how to lose out of the building.
What'd you say about 3 points? Sometimes it could win a football game. Well, 3 points just won a football game as we take you to the finish between Cleveland and Green Bay. What we thought might be a game that hung in the balance a little longer than it should have as we cap the thought here on Aaron Rodgers' career passing touchdowns passes his old running mate in Brett Favre. We promised, we deliver.
On the Saints, looking at some actives, guys who are good to go today. Big news for the Dallas Cowboys. Their cornerback Trayvon Diggs is good to go today, active against the Bears. And for Chicago, running back DeAndre Swift, who we know was dealing with that quad injury, is good to go, will be active against the Cowboys. For much more on this, let's go ahead and welcome in our Cowboys insider, Garrett Podell, who is live for us from the Chicago press box. Garrett, it is so great to see you. Let's start with the biggest news. Trayvon Diggs, good to go.
Yeah, Jordan, great to talk to you here from Chicago. And yeah, Trayvon Diggs, he is going to be active today. It's kind of interesting because in week one, he had his first game. He didn't really participate much in training camp after having a knee procedure in January. And
Welcome back to Steeler Nation Wire. And Steeler Nation, I have to tell you right now, this win in New England was not pretty. It was not clean, it was not dominating by the box score, but it was Pittsburgh Steelers football through and through. Gritty, opportunistic, ugly, yet absolutely beautiful when that clock hit 0 and we walked out of Foxborough with a 21-14 victory and a 2-1 record. The storyline of the day wasn't Rodgers throwing for 400 yards. It wasn't a ground game rolling over defenders. It wasn't the defense locking down Drake May and that Patriots offense for 4 quarters. The storyline, plain and simple, was turnovers. Fumbles bouncing our way, 5 times to be exact, every single one of them ending up in black and gold hands. And sometimes, my friends, that is what football is. Luck, hustle, heart. The ball takes funny bounces, and on Sunday in Foxborough, every single bounce went Pittsburgh's way. That was the difference. That was the game. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Patriots outplayed us in so many categories. They had 368 yards of offense compared to our 202. They moved the chains 26 times while we only managed 17 first downs. They went for it on 4th down 5 different times, converting 4 of them. By almost every traditional measurement, New England was in control. But the only number that matters is the scoreboard. And on that board, the Steelers finished on top 21-14. And why? Because every time the ball hit the turf, Pittsburgh was there. Cole Holcomb forcing one early, Peyton Wilson falling on one at the goal line, Nick Herbig ripping one out late with Watt pouncing on it, Jabril Peppers recovering another, and even our own fumble bouncing out of bounds instead of into Patriot hands. 5 times the football was loose. 5 times it ended up with the Steelers. You can call it luck, you can call it fortune, but I call it finding a way to win. Because the Patriots had their chances, and the Steelers made sure they never capitalized. Now, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, because I know a lot of fans are split after this one. He wasn't spectacular. 16 completions on 23 attempts for 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. That's not the stat line of an MVP, but it was enough. Enough to keep us in position when the defense and the bounces gave us the ball. Enough to hit DK Metcalf early to set the tone. Enough to find Calvin Austin III in a crucial red zone moment. Enough to give us 21 points. And in a game like this, that's all it took. Was Rodgers perfect? Absolutely not. But when you've got a quarterback who understands situational football, who doesn't implode when things aren't clicking, you give yourself a chance to win ugly games. That's what he delivered, and that is what great veteran quarterbacks do. The defense, oh, the defense. They bent, but they did not break. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this was the steel curtain of old. They gave up yards. They gave up first downs. They gave up long drives. But when the game hung in the balance, they forced mistakes. TJ Watt finally got back on the sack sheet and reminded everyone he's still one of the most disruptive players in football. Herbig forced a fumble. Holcomb came up big early. Peppers showed why adding him was a smart move, and Brandon Echols, he came up with a critical interception in the end zone to cap off a monster 17-play Patriots drive with nothing. That's how you gut out a win. Survive the punches, take the body blows, and then deliver the knockout when the opponent gets careless. And can we just stop for a moment and appreciate what it means for this team to start 2-1 instead of 1-2? Momentum matters in the NFL. Confidence matters. You go into Foxborough, a place where even rebuilding Patriots teams are tough to beat, and you walk out with a win, you send a message, not just to the rest of the league, but to yourself. You tell yourself, we can win on the road. We can win ugly. We can win when everything isn't going right. And that matters, because every season has games like this. Games where you don't dominate, where you don't shine on paper, but you find a way to get the job done. That's the DNA of Steeler football, and we saw it loud and clear. Now, let's keep it real. The offense has to be better. The run game is still sputtering. Rodgers can't be asked to grind out drives without more help on the ground. The line has to create push. Warren and Gainwell have to get more consistent lanes, and Arthur Smith has to find rhythm in his play calling. The defense has to clean up missed tackles and stop giving up 150 yards on the ground every week. Those are issues that can't be ignored. But here's the silver lining. Those are fixable. Those are the kinds of problems you can iron out over the course of a season. What you can't fake is resilience. What you can't manufacture is belief. And this team showed both. Steeler Nation, I know a lot of fans will call this a lucky win. They'll say the Patriots beat themselves. They'll say turnovers are flukes. And maybe there's some truth there. But let me ask you this. How many times in NFL history have the Steelers lost games they statistically should have won? How many times have bounces gone against us? Bad calls shifted games, or one mistake in crunch time buried us. Sometimes you need the breaks to go your way. Sometimes you need luck. And when that luck comes, you better be ready to seize it. That's exactly what Pittsburgh did, and the result is all that matters. So where do we go from here? We go forward with confidence. We go forward knowing that even when we're outgained, even when we're under fire, this team can win on the margins. We go forward with Rodgers settling in, with Watt heating up, and with young players like Wilson, Herbig, and Harmon making plays, and with the belief that this season is just beginning to unfold. This wasn't a masterpiece, but it was proof of life, proof of grit, proof that the standard still exists. Steeler Nation, I want to hear from you. Was this game pure luck, or was it a sign of resilience? Do you believe Rodgers and this offense will settle in and start clicking soon, or do you think this team will have to win ugly all year? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe that 2-1 feels a whole lot better than 1-2, hit that like button and subscribe right now to Steeler Nation Wire. We'll be here every step of the way, breaking it all down, riding the highs, fighting through the lows, and living and breathing every single snap with you, the most passionate fans in football. This win was for the fighters, the believers, and the faithful. The Pittsburgh Steelers may not have been perfect, but they were victorious. And in this league, that's what counts.